Hello and welcome to Who Dares Rolls. I'm your host Mike B, and we're back finally. Good gracious, it's been some time. I apologise. There is reasons for this. Just to put a pin in it. We're in the end of June. I think it is. I think it may even be the 1st of July today. How exciting! Summer's arrived in a shower of rain. Hello. It has been a while. I appreciate that. Number one, I did say at the end of the Expo video, and I think which was epically long. Apologies or not for that. That I got Conquered. I got something during that, or just before, just after, I don't know. I was kind of knackered, and I got something nasty, and it fucking floored me. So I've pretty much been out of action for a couple of weeks. The first week was terrible. So that's been going on. Other shit's been going on. And then Father's Day, I got the son of a one got me a new camera, which hopefully you'll see now. This is the other issue. Hello there, by the way. That gives us the option to be camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2. That's how that would work. Camera 1, camera 2. So we've got this set up. We'll see how this works. This is, I want to call the earwax cam. So that would be handy for you to be able to see that. That'd be lovely. I'm trying to trim, make it more aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if this is my good side or not. So that's the thing I'm going to play around with. 2 camera setup, make things a bit more variable, be nice. But it has taken a while to sort out because the new camera doesn't do the stuff the old camera did, and it's just made it tricky setting it up. Who would have thought? So we'll see how this does, because this has been a bit of fuckery going on. I've rambled already for some period of time. So there we go. That's brought you up to speed. How are you all? I hope you're all well. Everyone fine? Good? Lovely. Let's get on to what I've been playing. Played. So a few things we've been playing. After Us, I was going to get the cards out. Let me just throw that over there. So After Us, picked this up at the Expo. I was quite interested in it. I like the idea of it. The theme is the post-apocalyptic, gathering your tribe of monkeys in like a Planet of the Apesian type thing. To be honest, having played it, the theme is there. It does work. It's all integrated in there, but it kind of falls away because of the nature of the game. What it is, it's kind of a tableau engine. Well, it is a tableau engine builder game with this gorgeous Vincent Tutrate art, which we love a bit of Vincent. And it's got quite a cool thing in it. It's got I'm going to pull a card out so you can see. So you end up with about 4 different tribes of apes. You've got orangutans, which kind of give you batteries to power stuff you can use during the game. You've got gorillas, which have a rage they generate, which rage is used to kill off other little monkeys in your tribe. Beat them to death and discard them out of your deck, essentially. There's chimps, which have like multi-use options and can reuse actions on your cards. And then there's mandarins, I want to say, which I think they're mandarins, which give you victory points. And the idea works. Each of the cards is, and this is a mandarin card, which I shall stream close up. They have these little boxes on them, loads of boxes, and you put a tableau of 4 of these out, and every connected box, which is completely whole, will generate the resource it shows on the card. So for these guys, you get victory points, as I say, rage for the others, Essentially, the game works as you draw 4 cards, you lay them out on the tableau in front of you, you generate all the shit, spend some shit to do other shit if you want, mainly gain victory points, and then you go to buying a card stage, and you're buying one of these different types of monkey, all have different costs of different resources you generate. So the mandarins would generate for blue and orangutans orange, so on and so forth. So that's what you're doing. Essentially, you're building a little engine as fast as you can, and then really what you want to do is for that engine is just generate victory points, because that's the game pretty much. The first person that hits 70 victory points, game ends instantly. And I do enjoy this, but it is very quick. Well, not that that's a bad thing. It is actually a really good filler. Once everyone knows what they're doing, you're all doing simultaneous actions. So everyone is bang, 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 bang cards, generate stuff, spend the stuff, do the thing, rinse, repeat, and that's it. And I haven't myself personally grokked the best strategy for the minute. I'm still playing around with the tactics on it, but seems to be just generate victory points as fast as you can, and you'll up the track. And so far, my engine seems to kick in just a little late. But yeah, I really enjoy it. Aesthetically, it looks gorgeous. I like the play style. It's quick and fast, and once you've taught it, you can really crack on and get it out. It plays up to 6, which is kind of cool. Although my version is missing 1 player token. So I'm going to have to sub that out because I really can't be asked to worry too much about that. If there was any cons to it, and whilst personally I aren't as troubled by this, then I know Jamie's definitely raised this as a thing, is that it all feels rather like you're doing your own thing. It's a very solo sort of experience. You're sat there and you're doing that, but there's no player interaction. You're not doing anything to anybody else. And I don't think there is that option there. So it's very much you are kind of in your little bubble, your monkey bubble, doing the monkey shit. But I quite enjoy it. It's coming out, I believe, about September time. This was a flown-in special for the UK Games Expo exclusive with the Big Ben cover. So actually, the rest of you the plebs will be able to pick it up September-ish time around Essen, I'm guessing. It's coming from actually Games UK. I really rate it. I'm going to do a review of it. But yeah, there you go. There's a brief overview. I quite enjoy it, but I understand. And it does play solo as well. There is a solo mode I've not played, I think, in there. But yeah, I quite enjoy it. I like what it's doing. I like the theming. I like the artwork. It tears along at a fair whip, but I can understand if you're not a fan of low interaction games, where it does essentially feel like you're all sat there just doing your own crossword puzzle, then I get that. But yeah, on the whole, I say yes, I enjoyed that a lot. Meanwhile, the other thing we picked up, I played Friday last, was Thunder Road. Tony picked up Thunder Road from the Kickstarter. It is a Restoration Games done a reprint of a 1980s Thunder Road game. I vaguely remember playing it at the time. The idea is it's kind of Mad Maxian. You're racing your vehicle down the road and it kind of constantly spawns more road as you go, and you're fighting and destruction. Rolling dice and mayhem occurs everywhere, and it is very much that. It is distilled all that into that, a new version of that with some chrome to kind of make it a bit shinier for today's modern audiences. But essentially it is that same game. It is a random total lockfest mayhem. And if that's what you're after, then that's exactly what you're going to get. We've played a couple of games of just the base game, and it's very straightforward. It's really easy to teach, and you essentially just have 4 dice. You roll them, and then during your rounds you assign one of those dice to one of your vehicles, which will mean it will move. At the end of every round, if there's something in your arc in front of your vehicle, you can shoot it. There's small, medium and large vehicles, which there's a dice related to them what you roll to shoot at them, and obviously the bigger vehicles are easy to hit, the smaller ones less. You've got ramming rules again, which again is all dice rolling. You ram into something, roll 2 dice, and it tells you what car's affected and what happens to it. So you've got lots of stuff zinging and binging and bouncing off around the track and hitting random things and blowing up. And it's stupid. There was, in the Kickstarter version that Tony has, there is a bunch of extra expansion stuff and content, which is asynchronous powers to the drivers. There's a big rig that you can put down, which looks kind of cool. I'd look at that. There's like the Toe Cutters gang, a bunch of motorcycle gang, which also again looks kind of cool. And a bunch of other little modular rules, stuff like adds perks to your cars, I think, and one that adds flames and fire on the board, stuff can catch fire, and stuff like that. I really enjoyed my little play of it. It is nothing more than an absolute, as I say, a total just fuckery, basically, dice rolling and stuff happening. But if you're in the mood and enjoy that style of stuff, then it is a lot of fun. I can't wait to dig into more of it, which we will be doing, I think, this weekend coming. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it is very much like fuck over your friends and cause mayhem. So I'll play some more and I'll give you that. But yeah, is it. I know it's coming to retail, not in the posh, nice, shiny version with all the extra shit that the Kickstarter had. But I think even playing the base game, that was quite good fun. I can see, though, that will have a certain degree of less legs without some of the extra content, I feel. But for the minute, I think the base game's pretty solid. And if it's at a reasonable price at retail, then you know what, it probably would fill the gap you need, as it were. There you go. Finally, what we did play was Star Trek Ascendancy, which was one on my list for a while. We've been discussing this, how exciting, and I picked it up. I managed to get a bashed box version for Zatu, and boy, when they say the bashed box, they meant it. it has been beaten to shit. But I've repaired it with some gaffer tape. So this one will not be being sold on because most games collectors will lose their absolute shit over that situation. What is it? Star Trek Ascendancy is a 4X-ish kind of game in the same realm of Twilight Imperium and Eclipse, both of which I now own. Twilight Imperium has always been my beloved, lovely space opera galaxy fun and games favourite. And I think this isn't going to affect that being on the top of the charts. However, it is quite a good bit of fun. We played it 4-player. I'd thrown in the Ferengi as an extra class that I picked up. What this does, what some of the others don't do, is obviously you've got asynchronous powers, but you've also got a galaxy you're building. And essentially, as you explore the galaxy, you roll a dice which tells you how big a distance between the planets there are. And they're like these space lines you fly down. So you're building this kind of galaxy, and it's quite interesting that you may at one point think you're like quite way away from maybe an opponent, enemy or whatever, but then in a few moves potentially they could connect into your universe, your galaxy, with quite easily, and you could be like, oh, so I can see how they can quite get gamey. We played it. I'm trying to think who won. I think it was Tony won. There's basically 2 victory conditions. You either get Ascendancy, which is you get culture during the game as a resource, and you spend 5 of them to get these Ascendancy tokens. Once you hit 5 of those, you win. Or you can take over 2 other homeworlds of your opponents. Jamie came very close to that, and I was well onto what he was up to. But Tony snuck in with the Ascendancy score because he'd just got a lot of culture planets. I quite enjoyed what it's doing. As I said, it's not going to knock Twilight Imperium off its perch by any means, but I think potentially this has the option to be it's definitely a lighter and maybe a quicker play. The version we played, obviously, on Sunday was our first game. It took about 5 hours, but I think we could refine that, chip an hour or 2 off of that. It's got a weird method that you play your turn all in one go, which is weird. Whereas Twilight Imperium, and I think even Eclipse, has someone does something and it goes around the board. In this, you literally have you comes to you and you do all your spying and do all the stuff you can do in the first stage of your turn. Then you basically move on to actions where you're spending action tokens like Twilight Imperium and all that to do stuff, but you do all of it on your turn. So you have this. There's a turn order bidding option at the start, which you can do after you've made first contact, which I think is going to play a stronger part because where you come in that turn order can make a big difference, especially towards the latter stages of the game, where that big move, that big sweeping checkmate move could be made in one turn if people have prepped themselves to do it. So I don't know, it's a weird thing, but it was a bit different. It does mean the big thing I'd say is an issue on that is it does mean that there is periods of time where you are sat waiting for your turn while people mumble a bumble about what they're doing. It wasn't too bad. People were doing okay. Even Tony was pretty good, and he's the worst offender. Robbie, unexpectedly, of course, as expectedly, was bumbling through his every round, and it did drag on sometimes, but overall, it was all right. But yeah, at the moment I come down on that, I enjoyed it. Need to play it again. But yeah, definitely Twilight Imperium still sits there as the big bad boy, thematically big space opera games. Eclipse has got its place in its Euro feel. This kind of sits sort of in the middle, and I'd be fascinated maybe to explore some of the other expansion races, possibly. I might pick the Cardassians up, for instance, I think, just to buff it up. But other than that, I wouldn't mind playing again, but it's nice to have it. I like Grey Forces design work. I need to play again to get more feel for it. But it was different enough that I enjoyed what I did see of it. I think that's what I'm saying. It was all right. Thank you. Let's do some news. Here is the news. News! What is the news? So Gloomhaven, the RPG, went on backer kit and apparently causes it to crash or blow up. Weird choice to go backer kit, I thought, rather than Kickstarter or GameFound. I don't know. I looked at it. If I'm honest, I don't really. I've got Frosthaven to play through. I'm not really interested in an RPG. I wanted to look to see how it played and what it was, and I like the interesting of the card and roleplay kind of crossover and using some of the tactical kind of battle feel of Frosthaven or Gloomhaven, which is fine, but it's expensive for an RPG because you have to buy all the card decks to be able to play this stuff. Yeah, seemed very expensive for what it is. But hey, whatever. And there's loads of miniatures if you want to bling out your Frosthaven and Gloomhaven. Again, very expensive, but if that's your thing, then fine, fill your boots. But yeah, that was out there anyway. But yeah, that's about as much as my interest is in regards to that. Scarface 1921, I want to say, whatever it's called, has gone back to going back to Kickstarter. I played Ben's copy of this. I think the expansion adds a 5th player, which would possibly be Carnage. I quite enjoy it. I've said before, it seems like a very complicated and kind of fiddly but kind of coolish version of Eric Lang's Godfather game, Corleone's Empire. Of the two, I would say Corleone's Empire, if you can track it down, is just as good, just as entertaining, but a lot simpler. Although I do like some of the bloated ridiculousness of Scarface, and it's a game I have yet to really grasp the strategy of what you're doing in it. But I like what it did. However, if you don't have the megabucks to do that, potentially look for Corleone's Empire. Although that again is quite hard to get hold of because if it's out of print. But that's a cracking game. Or Sons of Anarchy game from Gale Force 9, which again is out of print. I appreciate I'm not helping. Wise Guys, I think, was the reprint of the Sons of Anarchy game. And that wasn't bad if you want a cheaper option. But yeah, Scarface I did enjoy, but I do think the costs on it are extortionate. What else we got? Very recently I just saw that Alleycat Games at Gen Con are going to be doing publishing or showing a preview game of a game called Unfold, which is another one of these kind of escape room games. But it comes in an envelope, and there's one they're giving away at the show, I think, which is a small version little envelope. It's a real shame they didn't have this at the expo because this sounds kind of interesting. And the idea is, as you play through the game, you unfold this piece of paper envelope in front of you until you end up with this obvious large sheet of paper. Don't know how quite that's going to work. It sounds interesting. I like the idea of messing with simple kind of stuff to make an interesting thing. I don't know. It'd be fascinating. There's about 4 or 5 versions of this. It looks like it's something that was published either in France or Italy or somewhere. It was released somewhere else, I think, and it's being brought over to the UK market, is my feel on this. But yeah, it looks kind of cool. So I'd be interested to see how this plays and how it works, because it's something a bit different. And then, of course, there's one that I missed to mention the other day, which is Final Fantasy Adventures, which is coming from designer Martin Wallace and based on the wonderful Fighting Fantasy game books, which is something that of my childhood was... Well, if you're of a certain age, certainly my age, then you would have kind of grown up on these things. And they were my gateway into the fantasy RPG genre. I remember when they came out, I got it via the Puffin Book Club. And I remember that year, that release of that first book, that you would just see groups of school children huddled in corners rolling dice, staring into a paperback. And in fact, I still have my original version of The Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Which is now probably getting, in fact, there you go. I've got my as you would standardly do at school, is write your name in it. But yeah, this is my original. This Adventures game is coming from Martin Wallace. It's card based, and it can play up to 4 players. And essentially, I think you got kind of like a couple of boards for your characters on, and how you fight on that. And then there's a deck of cards that, as you pull, that is the map of the dungeon or area you're going through, and other cards are pulled alongside with that, and they give the story and generate stuff, and things happens, and you roll dice and shit happens. It sounds interesting. I mean, the Fighting Fantasies, there's a certain generational thing that, say, like myself, that grew up on this stuff, and it was our gateway to that sort of stuff, and I played a lot of them. This base game, which is going to Kickstarter, it's my only is going to contain the first 4 adventures. So yeah, well, actually it's not the first 4 adventures, but these 4 books. The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, Citadel of Chaos, which I quite enjoyed. Forest of Doom, which was a bastard, and I loved the McCraig art on the front cover. And then Death Trap Dungeon, which was a beloved one, favourite of mine. Not least alone for the fantastic Ian McCraig art, because his art was amazing. That and City of Thieves, the 2 of my favourites, not least because of the wonderful art in there. Which City of Thieves isn't in this first batch, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, they're all kind of classic solid ones. I'd be interested to see how it works. I do like a bit of Martin Wallace because he does love a bit of that randomly dice rolly shit going on. It's got a theme I enjoy, story, though I have seen they're not using any of the original art, which seems a bit of a missed to a certain extent, because you kind of channeled that nostalgia factor possibly a bit better. Things like, if you think that Fiendborn did with Skip the Dark Castle, Dark Sector, that kind of evoking that kind of this feel, but they seem to be going the other route with new art. We'll see. But yeah, I'm colour me interested. I will watch it. I know that it's going to Kickstarter, so I kind of like, but we'll see. But yeah, generally on the whole, I love those game books. So the idea of something like that, yes, and it's supposed to be quite quick to play, yes, we shall see. And I thought I should be, as your humble narrator to the board game world at the moment, I thought it was nice of me to bring that up, just in case it's somehow passed by your radar, or you were like, Mike, why are you not talking about this? There you go. So there you go, that's us. Here's a little bit I had at the end of this. I was having a think the other day, as occasionally randomly. What triggered it was actually Thunder Road, and Tony's copy of Thunder Road, which he left with me on the other week, and because he brought it along to Games Night, and we opened it up, and he'd not even unsealed it. It was still in the polythene. So we went to break it out, and it was just like, shit, it needs popping. There's a lot of fucking boards to pop, and the rules need Anyway, the idea was, I said, look, Tony, leave it here. I'll pop it. I'll sort it out and have it ready for us to play next week, which I dutifully did, aside from we didn't play it last week, we played Star Trek Ascendancy. But that led me down another route of, you know what, for me personally, as a board game collector, fan, player, one of the endorphin rush moments for me is the whole journey of a board game. Now, for me personally, it starts from the moment I pick my board game and I get it, and sometimes mostly we're ordering offline for these, online for these things, so you've got the anticipation of the wait for that board game, the board game arrives, and the unboxing, the taking out, and that whole, for me personally, that discovery of that board game, then receiving it and opening it, going through the box, unpopping, sorting, that whole experience, that endorphin rush, of that is part of the joy of the collecting and playing board games for me. And that initial learning curve and exploring with your new lover, the world together. Just, you know, you're just kind of going into this new thing, and it has a wealth of possibilities and excitement and things, and it's cool discovering all of that. And that's all part of the hobby for me. That's kind of entwined into the playing of the game as much as anything else. It's just that experience. Now, maybe I may be disappearing on my arse in regards to this, but I'm sure I'm not alone in that. That's a thing, which led me to kind of go, when Tony kind of just handed over his game for me to pop, and I felt a little bit like I was kind of cheating on someone. But you know, that, I think I was kind of like, for me, that's my rush. That's part of the joy of that game. And whilst it banged a bit hollow for me, as it were, with Tony, it's because I hadn't gone on the full journey with that. It was still weird to kind of see a collector or a fan who doesn't get that from, I presume not from Marby. I'll discuss this with Tony when I see him next. But yeah, weird for me. I don't know. Is it the same for you? For me, that is kind of, that's part of the journey, the hobby for me. I mean, yes, people like to collect stuff, and there's that bit of that completionist in some people to have that and to get the expansions, get the stuff. But yeah, as I said, for me, it's all the whole journey from the moment of conception of I want that game through to eventually having it and unboxing it and displaying it on your table and playing it. It's all these possibilities all the way through, and if it's a great game, then that's all kind of the history, the rich tapestry of your relationship with that game. And it's just different, a bit more tangible than some other hobbies, video games. Just saying. So that's for me. It's kind of part of the joy of the hobby for me. Is it for you? Am I mad? Is it just me? You can say, if I have an issue, then let me know. But, that's how I feel about that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'll discuss with Tony, because it was weird, because, as I say, Anyway, cool. So there you go. There's that. What else is going on from us at the minute? Where to begin? I've obviously got more videos. I want to do a review of After Us. Tempted just to get me kind of review muscles stretched and do a bit of that. I do have reviews actually to do of Books of Time, which I get from the UK Games Expert from Board and Dice. I haven't had a chance to actually sit down and play that one yet, or even learn that, but I have had the joy of unboxing it and packing it and arranging it and sorting it all out, and that was quite fun because it has lots of cool components in it. Maybe that should be a feature of when I do reviews in future. Maybe that's a thing I should have. The masturbatory, unboxing-y, fiddly round mode of the game. I enjoyed this much. I had almost half a stalk on sorting through this game. So there's that's a possibility. Well, so I'm just looking over here because I think there's other stuff. Obviously we're playing some more Thunder Road. Ben, I'm sure, is going to have some more stuff. And yeah, so that's where we're at the minute. Hopefully I want to try and get back on the track of producing more content. A bit of a blip with the illness, bit of a blip with the camera fuckery. Hopefully that's all sorted out, please. Let's hope this is sorted out, because I've taken a dive on this whole video. So if you're seeing this video in a slightly blurred fishbowl type quality, it's clearly an aesthetic choice and nothing to do with the fact that I thought everything was sorted out and it wasn't. We'll see. So there you go. This has been Who Dares Rolls. This has been a while since we last did the video, but there we go. Hopefully, for Christ's sakes, hopefully, if the gods of video are shining down on me, I have managed to somehow competently just about put together a video and edit it, and you're seeing it now. How was that for you? How bad was that? Did it look like shit? Quite conceivably. If it didn't, well, great. For the time being, like, share, subscribe. That's the things we're supposed to do. Look after yourselves out there. Play lots of the old board games, and we hopefully will get back to our regular viewing schedule shortly. For the time being, collect, savor, unbox, enjoy those games. Thank you, and good night.